Right, what's up? Another work from home day here. I thought I'd do another day in the life of construction estimating and kind of go through a little bit more of what I actually do, my processes, the programs that I use, how I get it over to Excel, kind of where I started. This is probably going to be a little bit of a series. This is the most watched video that I have is actually from construction estimating, so I figured I'd build on that. So this first part is going to be a little bit of how I got started in estimating, how I became an actual estimator, and how I think it can help other people who maybe want to get into this trade. Let's go ahead and get to it. But first, you see, there it is, lunchtime. Okay, there we go. Random yet delicious lunch. Okay, lunch was had. We're back to work, we're back at it. So, like I mentioned, I figured I could do this kind of like a couple video series on estimating, construction estimating, programs I use, how I do takeoffs, how I build templates, how I do conditions, because I use on-screen, and the various programs that I've used kind of throughout my career, but on-screen is what I use now, so it's the kind of one I can go most in depth. But I think the best way to start out is to kind of talk about how I even got into estimating. I was at an insurance job prior to when I first started estimating, and I absolutely hated it. It was a call center type job, and it was the worst job I've ever had in my entire life, just as far as for the work that I had to do on a daily basis. So I reached out to my dad, who has been in masonry his entire life. He started out as a laborer, a block layer, foreman, then got promoted up to be an estimator inside of the office. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you got any sort of opening available for me? Because I need a job like now. I need out of this thing. I can't stand what I'm doing. So I reached out to him. Fortunate for me, I did have a position kind of being like his Eddie. Basically, I was just kind of I was literally his estimating assistant. And so what he needed me to do, because they had so many different plans coming in, this is around 2016, beginning of 2017, I needed someone that's gonna go through bids, to load them into the computer, load them into the job file, and just get them the plans that they need, and that's it. So they can just go right in, estimate, and get these jobs out to the general contractors. That was my job. I was his estimating assistant, and that's how I really started reading plans. I had no plan reading experience prior to that. I learned from that. And he had me load in the architecturals, the structurals, and the civils that they were gonna need for the masonry takeoffs and building out their jobs that they needed to do. They used PlanSwift, which is very similar to on-screen takeoff, and they also used Tradesman, which is a masonry, I believe it's a masonry specific estimating program. They have a 3D version of it as well, so you can build out your job 2D, and you build up into a 3D model that you can send to general contractors, which is awesome, super helpful to win jobs. But that's what they used, and that's kind of how I learned how to read plans, is I'm taking them, loading into PlanSwift, labeling them, and all that good stuff. He kind of told me just to try my best to figure out what the differences were between architecturals and structurals and civils. I started reading the plans, going through them, looking through the floor plans, the dimensions, the elevations, the architectural details, site details, and then from the structurals, loading up the foundation plans, the framing plans, going through the general structural notes, loading the foundational details, roof, framing details, all that good stuff. And I basically taught myself how to read plans that way. And after doing that for maybe about a year or so, maybe a year and a half, probably about a year, they had an estimating position or estimator position open up. They're getting backed up, had a lot of jobs coming up, and no one to take on these jobs. So the owner of the company is like, hey, you want to be an estimator? And I said, yes. And so that meant more money, that meant more opportunity, that meant all kinds of different things. So that is how I got my foot in the door, working at a subcontractor, a masonry subcontractor, really starting at the bottom, learning how to load plans, being their assistant, teaching myself, spending a lot of time kind of reading and going through the plans for them. So I taught myself how to read plans, and then it opened up a door for me to become an estimator. For anybody who wants to become an estimator, that's what I would recommend you do. I didn't go to college for this. I grew up in a family of people that worked in construction. My whole family was block layers. I did not personally lay block. Kind of wish I did, because it would maybe even more, it would help me to become even better of an estimator, just working in the field using my hands doing it. But luckily, I didn't necessarily have to work outside to get my experience. It's not what you know, it's who you know. If you're unsure about college and you think you want to get into construction, I think you should just go straight to working at a subcontractor start from the bottom and learn and improve your worth there. That's going to help you get moved up the ranks. And then if you want to get into the general contractor world, you can. As far as for job opportunities, I would say in my area, I'm in Arizona, there's a ton of opportunities in subcontractors and general contractors right now because the state is just blowing up. So if you're younger and you want to get into construction, look up subcontractors in your area, see what you can do to work there, and really get your 4-year degree actually doing on-the-job training. That's what I did. I worked there for about 3.5, 4 years, and that essentially was my bachelor's degree in construction. Not necessarily in the construction management side, but the construction estimating side, plan reading. I think that's probably the better way to go if you don't want to go to college or don't have the opportunity to do so. There's a lot of work out there to work at a subcontractor, and there's a lot of work to work at general contractors. I wouldn't say either one is better than the other, to be honest. Now, general contractor, obviously you're dealing with more trades, you're dealing with bigger companies in some certain circumstances, but I think either one is great. But on-the-job trading, I think, is superior in a lot of ways than it is going to school. But I'm kind of biased in that because I didn't go to college. So I think that's going to be it for this first video. I want to make this into kind of a little bit of a series. Like I said in the beginning, the best job or the best video that I have is a construction estimating video, just kind of a little day in the life of what I did, which really wasn't much. I think I had a lunch meeting that day with some subcontractors. So, but it's a little intro video to estimating. We'll see how you guys like it. See if there's any interest in this one like it was in the other one. And just kind of my 2 cents on estimating and how to get into the job, and also a little bit of experience on how I got started and what I think is the route to take as far as for on-the-job training with the subcontractor, learning the ropes, instead of going to school. If that's something you would think you would like to do. So, yeah, that's gonna do it. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, comment. If not, if you like this, like the video. Think about subscribing if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.